Hello everyone and welcome back to painting some miniatures, and today some tyrannids. Today I am figuring out what color scheme I want to paint my miniatures and what is the best way to prime for said color. But before we begin into the how and the why, if you enjoyed my content, please subscribe, share it with a friend, hit the like button. Whatever helps. Every little bit helps. I'm slowly growing. One subscriber at a time. Yay! Alright, so what am I doing here? I primed my three Termagants from the getting started with the box. Get started with painting Warhammer box set, and I primed them differently. One, I primed gray with a zenithal highlight of white. One I painted black with I primed black with a white zenithal, and one I kept just plain white primed. And now I am testing out colors to see how they react. I'm mostly using contrast paints. I also shifted to a droppable system a while back. I don't know if you noticed, it's definitely a notice. And I'm trying to figure out what is the best way for me to uh, paint these. What are the how the colors react with the primers, as well as seeing exactly how the paints flow and how they work into the crevices. I have also bought some contrast mediums, and I have seen that when you dilute them 1 to 1, they flow much better. I had previous experience using these on different miniatures, and I didn't really like how they appeared, mostly because it seemed like a really potent base color that still kept its very good flow, and I didn't get that recess darkening and stuff because I didn't actually thin it at all. But this time I did, and the results are much more visible, and I could clearly see where it spread out and where it pulled in the recesses, as they say. Now, contrast paints are technically more of an ink-like stuff, so that is their point and purpose. And they're really fast to work with and rather forgiving because you have plenty of time to move it around before it dries, while still drying pretty fast compared to other colors like the base colors or the layers. But that is also because I'm highly impatient and that I didn't thin my paints properly. So as you saw, I already painted 2 of the 3 models and have tried to see how the paint reacts. I had the black one and the gray one, and now it's time for the completely white one. And I am loving it right here how the paint reacts with just the white primer. So one of the reasons that I wanted to make this video and to see exactly the flow, because a lot of people just say, oh, I already found this out, I'm just going to prime it white and that's how you're supposed to do it. But I wonder what was the best way to prime the model. Other people were saying, hey, you should prime it black and give a zenithal gradient and keep going, you keep going. That takes a lot of time to dry brush or anything. I'm gonna try that as well and see if I like the results even better and see how that works. But right now I want to see how for now I have found that the best way to do it is just prime the models white, and it keeps the colors vibrant, and they also have very good coverage, and the effect that the contrast that it's designed for is much more visible. Because if you're um, higher parts that should be zenithal are still dark, or when the paint gets darker in the recesses and it's still dark on top, it tends not to be very visible. It can be one of my videos without the obligatory model drop. So there's that. And this is where I decided that all the other primes were not working, so I took my minis, gave them a thorough wash under the sink to remove most of the paint, and just took them back outside and primed them all again white. In addition, one of the priming on one of the tails was a little chipped, and this solved the issue because I didn't want it to keep it like have a spot on the miniature that was of a different color because the primer didn't stick to it. Right, and you saw me only painting one color. I think I used voluptuous pink for that one, and figuring it out, it was a little darker than what I wanted. And now I decided to start first with the carapace, and for that I used Dark Angel's green. I wanted a purplish looking alien with like a green carapace, and this came out great. I tried to keep the brushstrokes in one direction and to force the paint to pull in like the joining of the plates as much as I could. I'm not sure I fully realized this, but it was quite effective, and it gave an interesting pattern that almost looked like camouflage, and I absolutely loved this. So they came out looking great. I haven't yet done the final shots for this video. I'm actually leaving it after I do the voice screen. I can't wait to actually get really close up to them and see how well they do and what light I can get out of it. But again, the Dark Angels contrast paint diluted with contrast medium and applied over a white primer was absolutely awesome. And additionally, and I can talk about this right now because as I was editing the footage, I realized I didn't get a single good shot of the final step that I used for the carapace, which was, of course, dry brushing a little bit of mood green over the carapace in a certain direction to give it that feeling, that the extra highlight and feeling of camouflagey thingy. While I finish up painting this guy's carapace, as there's not much else to be said about Dark Angel's green contrast paint and finishing it down. Sorry about that. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up next on the channel regarding miniatures, because I usually tend to do this. So, what's up next? I really want to get my Tau Combat Patrol force assembled and primed so that I can occasionally paint it in the evenings. But I also want to get starting on some tyrannids because I want to mix it up. And honestly, now that I'm seriously considering this, I am kind of tired of painting inorganic material, and it was super fun painting these little guys for as they are organic, and it's really easy in seeing the contrast do half the work of painting. So I think for the next few videos I will be painting some tyrannids, but assembling the tau, a sort of mix and match. Yeah, I honestly think that would be like the best idea. And then when I'm done with all of these, I'm definitely getting to my Space Marines because I really want that force completed and ready to play eventually. Because I have these boxes that I really want to get done and see them assembled and play. But I can't really fully enjoy them because I would then need to make like a pretty big display cases. There are a lot, and my display case is already full. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself, and probably the display case I will have to get built for the other studio that I'm working on incredibly slowly in my spare weekends. All right, I will pause it right here with the commentary, and I will get back to you after I finish the carapace. And with the carapace done, it was time to test out another color for the skin tones, and this one is a bit more transparent because previously I used voluptuous pink, but now I am using Magos purple, which came in the starter set for the tyrannids. I'm honestly just using the starter set, these three thermal guns, to figure out a paint scheme for my bugs. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, Megas Purple works much better because in on the color scheme that they suggested and that I used as a reference basically to know where I was gonna put all of my stuff, it said to use Megas Purple just like on the joints of the model, and I get it with like the exoskeleton being white and just the armor plates being negative 9 or something, and I used um, Dark Angels for that. But it, while the white looked okay on the picture, I wasn't really happy with it, with how it looked. I wanted them to be real alien-ish look, not the Alien movie, just strange looking. So I went for that purple skin rather than the white one, because it looked stranger and weirder. You don't see many purple people around, and then again, maybe they're a bit orky and they want to be stealthy. Yeah, I correct myself. Yeah, so there's that. I used Magos purple on the all of the organic bits, including the joints, including like all of the um exoskeleton, I want to say, because they're harder. They're not necessarily flesh toned. They have these protuberances and they offer some sort of like resistance. That's how I figured they look. So yeah, Megas purple. I also diluted this one with, like I said, 1 to 1. So for every drop of Omega's Purple, I added a drop of contrast medium. Having these dropper bottles really is the best way to go. At least for me, I'm a much more mathematical guy, and I prefer exact measurements uh, than just eyeballing it and taking it on the tip of your brush and using a wet palette can sometimes for me be difficult to gauge how much paint I used and also its consistency and how it should flow. Using this fidget popper thingy that I found really cheap, I actually had to order it because I think the fad's gone now and you can't find them in like big retail stores and stuff like that. So I had to order it, but it was incredibly cheap. And as the moment the kids saw it, they were like, "I want one! I want one! I want one!" Good God, you weren't interested like in this when the fad was going on, and now all of you want the thingy. But yeah, it's really good for mixing paint in it and incredibly easy to clean. That being said, I definitely will prefer using a wet palette going forward, and this in conjunction because it's much better. And this one actually, I think I'm not wasting paint even more than the wet palette, not because this thing is keeps it moist or anything, keeps the paint moist or anything, but I can precisely measure like drops and I get to use most of it, and what's left is really easy to clean. You just pop it outside. That being said, if I get into a add this color and add this color and add this color, yeah, there might be a problem there because it gets quite a large quantity and I never get to use it. But yeah, this thing really is good. This was a fad back like what 2 years ago. I'm way behind on hobby tips. You don't come to this channel for hobby tips. You just come to this channel to watch me struggle and learn to paint and be a perfectionist. I'm by no means a master, but I do my best. Hopefully, that's why you come to this channel. if you do, I don't have that many. Oh, okay. Enough about self-pity and well, I really love painting these guys. Going from the hard lines of the Tau, especially since the last model I painted was the XV88, all the way to organic. Yeah, it's totally much more easy to paint organic miniatures, and these particular paints are definitely a plus for painting organic materials rather than hard surfaces. It's a bit tricky when I have to carefully place these contrast paints next to already painted area because I don't like to spill, and these things do stain considerably. So that is why I had titanium white, but I think I should have. No, I wanted to use titanium white, basically white scar or something that was pure white. But instead, I tried using an off-white color, which was like race bone, and yeah, that fixed it, covered very well, but it still left a weird little taint. When I do this going forward, I will definitely be using the white scar to fix mistakes and basically to cover again any spillage and then come back with the correct color over the white, and that should be the exact color of the primer. But yeah, when you already have painted a area of the miniature with a contrast paint and you want to move on to the next color, incredible care needs to be taken, or at least I don't have the technique, and I really don't like to make mistakes. I don't like to have my brush move over or accidentally spill. it's incredibly tricky to get into these nooks and crannies, but yeah, it works. It works. Another thing that I'm thinking, since these are push fit mods, I'm wondering if I can get away with not taking them apart, but in future for other push fit models, I don't want to paint them on the sprue, but I'm wondering if I could just hold them by the pegs, like these clamps, paint each individual piece separately, and then push them together. This is an idea that it just came up. It just came into my head. I'm actually gonna try it and see how effective that is, because just holding it by the pegs seems like a really good idea. And you're not gonna spill it, and they can also be primed like that. Yeah, that seems like a really good idea. I'm gonna try that. Not with these. I don't have any more things that are on sprues on push fit. I don't have any more push fit kits on sprues. But for the next ones, I'm going to see how that works. Alright, for the weapon, I went with another color. This time a layer paint, again diluted. And this time I used Lamian medium, and I went with Troll Slayer orange. And surprisingly, when I thinned down this layer, it tended to behave quite like the contrast paint. I didn't need to cover to give out two coats or anything. It had really good coverage in like one coat. Yes, there were a few places where I had to come back and push it, but yeah, while I was afraid to actually buy these contrast mediums, and I thought water should do the trick, they are very good. I don't know, I'm going to keep experimenting with this, but I'm guessing it was this medium that actually changed how the paint behaved. So there's that. I'm probably going to buy more when these things eventually end, because I'm going to use them with all my paints now. But honestly, I think they are totally worth it now. I was reticent because I didn't use them before, but hey, well, necessity is the mother of all innovation, and I'm not saying I innovated or anything, because again, but my necessity made me learn something new. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I've learned that keeping a empty brush also helps me avoid most mistakes, as I can very quickly clean off paint with like an empty, uneven wetted brush, because it just absorbs all of the moisture, all of the paint, and that I was trying to do. For the hooves, claws, and weapon armor plates, I went with Nagaroth Knight, and this is something that they said that you should use like on the carapace in the original model, but I changed it up and it looks good. I noticed a detail on the hoof that I totally missed, and I painted it all Nagaroth Knight. I'm going to maybe change that up for like the rest of the big army. It shouldn't make three models, shouldn't make that difference. It's the binding between the leg and the hoof. There's a small like organic part that in theory grows the hoof, and I painted that with Nagaroth Knight as well. I'm thinking of doing it in like pure white to make it stand out, like white rims on tires or something like that. I don't know. I'll see what I figure out with the rest of the army. But yeah, this is also a very being a base color, it covers really well, even though I thinned it down again with medium because it's a miracle thingy. But yeah, it also easily covers almost anything. And another thing that I realized, while in theory, when doing like a batch paint, and this is definitely how I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go with like the base color, like contrast, uh, Megas purple. That's what I was gonna say. Megas purple contrast paint, and then add the Dark Angels green on the carapace. That's how it should be done, with very careful, because again, if you spill over with like the Megas purple, the green is darker and covers much better, much better. Now for the tiny details with like the flesh bits that are shown through the exoskeleton, the tubes connecting the arm and the weapon, as well as the ammunition thingy on the weapon, I went with an aetheric blue, and I really think it complemented the model. It gave it a few tiny accents of color which it was lacking, and it looked absolutely amazing. I don't think I've captured footage of me painting the eyes. I used a bit of Mephiston red for the Termagant's eyes, as well as for the eye of the weapon, and that was basically it. I don't really think I have any footage of that. Oh yes, and since I went with the insides of like aetheric blue, I used it on the tongue as well, and I think I did one or two layers, but it came out looking absolutely awesome. It kind of gives this idea that the inside it's like blue, like all of the veins and all of its insides are very light blue, with like purple on the skin and green on the scales. It's something that really came together for me, and I don't know if the colors are perfectly complementary or whatnot, but I really like them. Yeah, I'm more than happy on how these guys turned out, and can't wait to do this. Oh yeah, and while I was painting, I figured, okay, I don't have that big of a difference, and all my joints are not very visible, so why don't I use again aetheric blue? And I went quickly over all of the joints with aetheric blue, and it did cover well over the Magos purple, but I kind of wished I honestly gave it a coat of white before applying it, so that it would pop out more. And yeah, that's exactly what I think I'm gonna do with the rest of the tyrannids. I honestly think that priming white and having that white over there to just color, to just correct any mistakes, is going to solve my problems and make all the miniatures look absolutely awesome. In case you're wondering, all those tiny, all those new-ish holders I designed myself with a few bits and pieces that I had lying around. And the reason I am using these instead of like the painting handle from that I have from Citadel, or even some of the caps that I used, is because I want to be able to get under the miniatures, and it was really difficult for me to do, mostly because of the base. So I decided that I would use some clamps and hold the miniatures by their tiny little pegs that fit into their bases. For their bases, I simply used some of the Sterling mud that came in the starter set, and just covered all of the bases. And because I am a fool and didn't really think ahead of what I wanted to do, and I work on the fly, I also used some of the grass stuffs which I bought in a terrain kit. and added them, but I didn't film it. So without further ado, I will prepare for showing you the final shots, and I will let you enjoy those. And only one thing remained, to paint the rim black. So if you enjoyed the content, please subscribe, like, share it with a friend. Next up, some Tau assembly. Alright, bye bye. I will see you in the next one.